Good. So I'm with a website called EverydayFamily.com. We are a pregnancy and parenting website with over 4 million members.
Wow.
And, yes, it's great. And we have a great platform to share knowledge. And that's what I want to do today. I want to talk to you about this contaminated drinking water issue that seems to be an issue in the U.S., which you would never think of.
Yep.
But, Flint has obviously brought it to our attention, but it sounds like we need to all be thinking about this.
Absolutely.
How widespread is this problem? What are we looking at here?
Well, I wish I had a really easy answer to that question. But part of the reason that Healthy Babies Bright Futures is doing this lead and water testing is that nobody knows. We know that over 90 million people get their drinking water from pipes that contain lead. We don't know what percentage of those people have the kind of corrosion that gets the lead out of the pipe and puts it into the water. And it turns out the only way you can really know is to test.
To test the actual water.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's interesting, because it's not only that you have the pipes, because somebody could have the pipes but not have contaminated water, but you wouldn't know unless you actually tested. So
exactly.
How can we test? As I'm a mother of two, and I'm in Florida, not in Michigan, but who knows? My house was built in the 50s, How can I find out if my children and my family are at risk?
Well, you can order one of our lead and water test kits. We're working with the lab at Virginia Tech, Mark Edwards' lab, the same lab that helped the families in Flint discover that they had a lead and water problem. And it's a very comprehensive test. It's 3 bottles so that you find out if there's lead in your faucets. If there's lead, that's the first test, the first bottle. You find out if there's lead in the pipes underneath your sink. That's the second bottle. And you find out with a third bottle whether there's lead coming in from the street, because you run the water for 5 minutes before you take that test. And the test costs Virginia Tech $50 and $15 more for shipping. But we're offering the test at cost. And then because we know that $65 is too much for some families, we're also offering it below cost to families that can only pay $12 or $20, and hoping that other families that have a little bit more money will help us pay it forward, so that some people will help pay for other people's test kits, and we'll be able to offer these kits as long as there are people worried about their lead and water problem.
Well, that's really wonderful, and I hope that people that can afford to will help, pay a little more, because this is a problem for lower income and older homes, right? That's kind of where a lot of it can be, the risk can be. But before we go into that, can we back up a second and talk to me about, what are the dangers of lead? What are the risks here? What is lead going to do to us? It sounds horrible, but
it is horrible.
What is it actually doing?
So, at very high levels of exposure, lead creates visible problems. Rashes, vomiting, seizures, but those aren't the problems that most people will see. Instead, there's a silent epidemic that comes from lead and the other chemicals that work like lead that have subtle but important impacts on the developing brain. So they impact IQ scores, they impact attention, they impact the ability to problem solve or to control violent impulses. Little things that we don't tie back to a lead exposure. And that's why it's so important that we do everything we can do, because less lead is better than more. Always. Fewer of these chemicals are better than more. And anything we can do to dial down the exposures is going to help our children have the brightest future they can have.
That's so true, too, because you think about, with attention and learning abilities and stuff, and we're always trying to find a cause. There's so many things that can be a cause to this, and so the more that we can eliminate, the better, right?
That's right.
So this is great. So once we get the testing, say we order the test and we test our water and it comes back positive and we have lead in our home, what are the steps? What should people do from there?
Right. Well, it will depend on where the lead is coming from. If it turns out that in your 1956 home you have a faucet that has some lead fittings in it, then it can be as simple as just changing out the faucet. But if the lead is coming from the street, That really requires a community level approach in the long term to get rid of those pipes and replace them with safer new pipes. And in the short term, to use one of the approved filters that are known to get lead out of the water supply.
Gotcha. So there are filters that can filter out the lead at like the top level.
That's right.
For the meantime, because we all know it takes a while to get communities moving and things happening.
Yeah.
So that's great that there's a short-term solution in the meantime of getting that long-term solution. For my members, where can we get all this information? I want to make sure they have all the resources necessary and can go order these tests for themselves and get their homes tested.
Great. So you go to hbbf.org, healthybabiesbrightfutures.org, and you can find how to order a lead test kit on the front page and a lot of other good information and more soon to come.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, Charlotte, thank you so much for chatting with us and sharing this information. It's a little bit scary, but at the same time, information is power, and I want our members to have that power to be able to protect their families and give their babies and their children the best start that they can.
Thank you so much for what you're doing.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.